You're listening to Crashes, Claims, and Clarity, hosted by Darrell Burrow, a Georgia-based personal injury attorney with over 30 years of experience and founder of Burrow and Associates. With a background in both legal strategy and compassionate client care, Darrell has helped over 10,000 individuals and families navigate life after injury. Guided by his Christian faith and a deep sense of justice, he brings expert insight, personal stories, and powerful interviews to every episode. If you're looking for truth, support, and clarity in the aftermath of an accident, this is your place. This is Crashes, Claims, and Clarity.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Crashes, Claims, and Clarity. I am your host, Darrell Burrow. I am the owner of the law firm Burrow and Associates. We are located here in Duluth, Georgia, but we serve all of the state of Georgia. And thank you so much for joining us today. I'm pumped. I am excited today. We have the one, the only Joe Esposito in the house. And welcome, Dr. Joe. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you on.
I don't know. I may be more excited than you. So,
how's everything going today?
oh, spectacular day. It's been a great couple of days, and it's always a great couple of days. So, yeah.
Yep. We've had a very rainy season here in Georgia, but it's been nice the last couple of days with lower temperatures too. So fantastic. Wanted to ask you a couple questions and learn a little bit about you. I know you've been on the radio a long time, but well-known chiropractor here in the state of Georgia. Tell me how you got interested in chiropractic. How did you become a chiropractor?
That's a great question. I planned on being a neurosurgeon. And my father had a horrible accident before I was born. Broke his back, fractured his skull, went deaf immediately. Never heard my voice. And so when I was a kid, I'd rub my father's back. His back would hurt. He walked and talked, but he just lost his hearing and his sense of smell, strangely enough. But so I'd rub his back. Joey, rub my back. Oh, my back. I was, oh, that feels good. So it was immediate gratification. Rub daddy's back. Daddy felt better. So my thought process was it would be wonderful if my father could hear. So I was going to become a neurosurgeon, operate on my father, bring his hearing back. I was probably 8th grade at the time. I started talking to different medical doctors because I played a lot of sports and got hurt a lot. And they'd all said, don't do it. It's a lot of work and it's malpractice and it's late hours. And 3 of them tried to talk me out of becoming a medical doctor. And I thought, okay. So my grandmother said, why don't you go talk to my chiropractor? They do something with nerves. So that sentence would change history. So at the time, I had hair down to my shoulders, 210-pound football player, flannel shirt, probably a concert T-shirt underneath it, baggy jeans and work boots, a beard. And I walk into this chiropractor's office on Park Avenue in Rutherford, New Jersey. Couldn't have been nicer. Oh my gosh, let me show you what this is, how we work. This is how we work with the nervous system. If you need advice on colleges, you need a letter of recommendation. This guy didn't even know me. He's giving me letters of recommendation. And I thought, this guy really loves what he does. So I said, all right, it's a fluke. He's a weirdo. So I go to another chiropractor's office. Same thing. Let me explain to you how this works. And the first chiropractic adjustment was made on a deaf man on September 18th, 1895, and brought his hearing back. And I was like, oh my God, these guys love what they do. And it was also at 40 years ago, it was 45 years ago, cutting edge. It was kind of a little radical, and I was a bit of a radical. So I went home and I said to my mother, Mom, I'm going to be a chiropractor, knowing hardly anything about the profession. She said, I don't care if you're a garbage man, be the best garbage man you could be. And I said, well, I'm going to do this. And I searched for schools, and I ended up at Life College at the time in Marietta, Georgia. And I graduated. I zipped through undergrad, zipped through grad. I accelerated. I was a doctor at 23 years old, and I didn't know what to do with my life. I was a kid, still with long hair. And so I was actually delivering pizza at the Domino's on Powers Ferry Road in Marietta, Georgia, to pay my rent for my office during the day. And I was always afraid I'd deliver pizza to a patient, you know, hey, Darrell, here's your pizza. See you Tuesday. So, never did though. And I started studying and I started working, and I failed miserably, and I didn't know what to do. So I started taking courses on business because I knew nothing about business. I was a 22-year-old kid from New Jersey. And once I started learning classes on business, I realized it's a lot more than just being you have to be able to deal with the patient and the insurance companies and answering the phone and, what color should your walls be? What color toilet paper should you have? So there was a business aspect that I never thought of. I went in, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with rose-colored glasses going, I'm going to save the world. So once I understood that I can save the world, but I had to know how to, that's when things took off for me.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a fantastic story. And I was going to ask you this question about what advice you might have for, let's say, accident victims, but I think this applies to anyone with any type of ailment. Tell me what that advice would be.
Well, I teach continuing ed for auto accident cases. So the doctors and insurance companies and lawyers will come to me for advice because I've got a bunch of degrees. And the advice is don't wait. If you're in an accident, come see a qualified doctor. There's a lot of scam artist doctors and a lot of scam artist attorneys out there. So if you need a referral, talk to me, talk to Darrell, and find out who's qualified and get an evaluation. If there's nothing wrong, I'll tell you right out. You know what, Darrell, there's nothing wrong. Great. I'm going to write up a report for you. In my 40 years of practice, I've never seen a car accident where the car was damaged and the person wasn't. If the car is damaged, you're
Hmm.
damaged. That's 100% of the cases. And you want to get it checked. So the longer you wait, the more scar tissue can form, the more permanent damage you can get. And from a lawyer standpoint, the insurance companies call it gap in care. Well, why didn't you go to the doctor? Well, I didn't have a car. Well, that's not an excuse. What do you mean it's not an excuse? So you
Right,
want
right.
to go to the doctor as soon as possible and follow the recommendations because that really blows out the insurance company's argument of, well, you weren't really hurt, which they love doing. So, but the best advice is no matter what your health issue is, the sooner the better when you come see us or somebody qualified.
Okay. Other than a transportation excuse, which is not an excuse, why do you find, or what are your thoughts about people finding it so hard to follow that recommendation or any of your advice or recommendations?
One of the problems we have is that 90% of the nerves don't feel pain. So you can have damage to a nerve and not know it. So, for example, you don't feel your blood pressure. It's controlled by nerves. You don't feel your spleen, your thyroid, your kidneys, your prostate. So you can have damage to a nerve and not know it. So my doctors and I are trained to test the nerves that feel pain and test the nerves that don't feel pain. So what'll happen is a patient will get a few treatments, whether it's chiropractic, medical, whatever. They start to feel a little better and they go, I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. I just want my settlement. And I have to explain to them, number one, you can have permanent damage. And I don't care how big the settlement is. If you have permanent damage, it's not worth it. And number two, if you discontinue care, the insurance company's going to say, what did the doctor say? Well, it was 10 visits, 20 visits, 30 visits, whatever. And you did 2 or 3, the insurance company say you didn't follow the doctor's advice. So one of the
Right.
problems is people feel better too quickly and they don't realize there's still damage or they're too anxious to get their money. And it's for a couple of weeks, it's not worth it to not follow the doctor's advice.
Right. Right. Uh, and we definitely do not want them doing that. We want them to follow the recommendations for
Yes.
sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, eh, over the years, you have gotten degrees and certifications in multiple disciplines. Tell.
Sure. Well, I'm board certified in chiropractic. I'm board certified in non-surgical orthopedics. I think I'm the only chiropractor in the state board certified in pain management. I'm double board certified in nutrition. I have a BS in nutrition. I'm a retired dietitian. I'm trained in traumatic brain injury. I had the honor of hosting one of the largest, if not the largest radio show in the world on health and wellness in Atlanta, based in Atlanta. I've been on Dr. Oz's show. He's been on my show. We have a huge social media following: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn. We're between 700,000 and 1 million followers. We post every day on social media. We do the podcast, and I've written 2 books on nutrition. I consult with doctors, insurance companies, lawyers, hospitals on a regular basis. I've worked with the US Olympic team, the Cuban Olympic team. I worked with a lot of celebrities who I won't say, but yeah, it's been a fun ride.
That's awesome. I love it. And I take it following your own nutritional advice is how you have all this energy to do all these things and keep going.
I was at 2 parties this weekend up on Lake Lanier. If you listen around the country, it's a big lake in Atlanta, near Atlanta, and people my age, and they looked horrible. They looked old. They had heart disease. They had diabetes. So, a couple of guys had cancer already, high blood pressure. I mean, all these problems coming in, and every one of them came to me one at a time. I felt like I was the Pope, and they're coming to play audience with the Pope.
Uh,
And they'd say, "Hey, Joe, what do you do for this? What do you do for this? What should I do for that?" And I said, "Okay, I have the answer for you. You just have to do it." Some people do, some people don't. So
how do you personally deal with that? Because you follow all of these, all of your own advice and everything that you have learned. That's the correct things to put in your body and the correct things to do. But you see people all around you. You treat people that come to your office this experience with the parties at the lake, all these people know that you're the expert. How do you deal with it when they don't follow your advice?
It's very challenging, and not just people social. What about my family? What about my friends? And it breaks my heart, to be honest with you, because I know I have the answer. You just got to try it. And if I'm wrong, the nice part about the work we do is if I'm wrong, no harm, no foul. You change your diet. You ate well for 3 weeks. Well, you ate well for 3 weeks. So what? Go back to eating a bad diet. You took some supplements. Well, maybe a tiny fraction of a cost of finances compared to medicine. It didn't work. It didn't work. Very low risk, very high reward. But it breaks my heart when I see people that I really care about. I care about all my patients, not at least trying what I say. I always tell them, try it. If I'm wrong, I lied to you, but I'm not lying to you. So please give it a shot. And it's very frustrating. Like one of the guys there said to another guy who didn't know me, he says, "You don't know Dr. Joe? This is Dr. Joe. He hasn't had a drink since he was 28 years old." And the guy looked at me and says, "Dude, what's wrong with you?" And I said, "Nothing's wrong with me." And I didn't say that, but I said, "There's nothing wrong with me. I just know that there's no safe level of alcohol. If you're going to drink, which I understand people do, at least mitigate the damage. Take some supplements, take some Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, B Complex, and mitigate the damage." So I'm not asking you to be an angel, but just make amends for your sins, so to speak. But it really is a challenge sometimes. And sometimes I just have to throw my arms up and go, famous guy once said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's if it happens and I can't, sometimes it gets too bad that I can't fix it, but it's a challenge.
Right. Yeah. Wow. And to a certain level, everybody knows, oh, well, too much sugar is not good for me, and too much coffee is not good for me. And we know that stuff. And I know it could probably be frustrating for sure.
Well, I always want to negotiate with people. I always say that. I talk about years ago, I made a joke one time in the middle of a lecture. God, it was probably 35, 40 years ago. And I said, well, there's 7 deadly sins of nutrition. And that would be alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. And I know that's most people's diet. So then I said, wait a minute, that's a little harsh. Okay, I'm blowing people away. So then I came up with the follow-up to that, the sequel. And I said, what about each one of them? How can we negotiate each one? So alcohol, for example, you're going to do alcohol, at least do supplements to mitigate the damage. Sugar, we have so many natural substitutes for sugar. Stevia, Lohan, xylitol, excellent substitutes for sugar. And if you're going to do sugar, understand sugar has no really nutrients to it except a little carbohydrate, and it's going to rob your body of nutrients. So make sure that if you do sugar, have something like fruits and vegetables with it to replace the damage. Meats, if you're going to do meats or dairy products, at least do organic so you don't get the steroids, chemicals, hormones, antibiotics, genetically modified food, glyphosate, artificial sweeteners. Again, we have the substitutes for sugars. Soda, there's soda that's sweetened with stevia. You can do lemon juice and seltzer. One of my employees, her husband loved cola, and he's a portly fella. And she said, I finally convinced him to start drinking cola sweetened with stevia. She goes, he can't drink regular cola now. It's too sweet for him. So if you try my substitutes, my negotiations, see what happens. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but it does work. It always works.
And no harm if it doesn't, right?
That's exactly it. So what? You ate well for 3 weeks, you go back to your old diet, and I walk away and I was wrong. So the answers are there, and I've tried to mitigate it so easily that nobody can say, well, I can't do it. It's just that you won't do it. That's the difference. Yeah.
Right. How do you deal personally? How do you deal with those tough days or seeing relatives who may not follow the advice, the friends that have some sort of cancer, early onset disease? You said it's tough. How do you deal with that? How do you personally get through?
With friends, I make a joke. I'll say, I got to start making younger friends because I'm not going to have you around much longer. And ha ha ha, but it's almost passive aggressive, but I have to try to get the word out to them. And also, I find that as long as I live the life, as long as I'm the example, I remember somebody said to one of my friends who I've known for like 40 years, and they said, you ever see him cheat? He says, I've known the guy 40 years, man. I've never seen him once waver from his principles, ever. And
that
they're
is
like,
fantastic.
Really? No, man. He says, I tell you. And I had one friend one time say, he says, Joey, I'll fly you anywhere in the world you want to go. I'll pay for the whole trip, but you got to have a steak when you get there. And I said, Larry, can't do it, man. So living by your principles is really important and never wavering. You say, well, I made a mistake. Well, I don't know. I say moderation is for monks. I want extreme health. I don't want moderate health.
Right.
I want extreme health. And I have to live the example because I have to prove people that I'm right. And so that's how it works. And it works great.
That's awesome. And tell me, that is the title of your second book, correct? Extreme Health?
Good God, good job. Yes. Yeah. I have a copy of it here. Yes. Prescription for Extreme Health.
Awesome.
There it
Yep.
was. Because when I wrote my first book called Eating Right for the Health of It, and quick funny story, I didn't know what to call it. So I was in Rome, Italy on a cruise, and I was walking around Rome with some people from the cruise, and this woman she wrote books. And I said, I just wrote my first book. I don't know what to call it. She goes, well, what's it about? I said, it's about eating right. She goes, okay, why did you write it? I said, I really just wrote it for the hell of it. She goes, there's your title. Eating Right for the Hell of It. I changed it to Eating Right for the Health of It. But yeah, and then I said, what's the second book? What do I want out of life? I want extreme health. I don't want ordinary health. And so that's where the second book came from, because it's a heck of a lot more fun being healthy than it is being sick, and a hell of a
Yeah,
lot cheaper, not just in
that's
food
right.
costs, but in health costs, in
Healthcare
energy.
cost.
Yes. Your family, your friends, your romantic life, your relationships. I like being at the top of my game at all times. It's a lot more fun.
We've talked about eating and health, that kind of thing. What does a Dr. Joe workout regimen look like?
And that's a great question, actually. I have a severe fracture in my low back. I have a torn up shoulder with multiple tears of multiple different muscles and ligaments in my shoulder. So the traditional workout doesn't work for me. I
Okay.
can't do bench presses, it blows out my shoulder. I can't run, it hurts my back. So I have to work out, and this is what everyone should do, what you like. I like working out in tiny increments throughout the day. For example, I want to do 100 squats a day, but I don't want to do 100 squats in a row. I get bored. So I do 10 at a time. If I'm doing a radio show, if I'm doing a TV show, we go to commercial break, I do 10 squats. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm doing squats while watching TV, brushing my teeth. So that works out the lower body. And that's one of the best workouts you can do, because one of the best things for anti-aging is strong lower body muscle. Because one of the big risks of getting older is falls. If you have strong muscles in your lower body, you're less likely to fall. So I do squats. Upper body, I can do curls like tight to my body, but I can't do big curls that involve my shoulder. So I can do triceps, I can do biceps. I have weights in my house. So if I'm boiling tea, I'll just do 10 or 20 triceps, 10 or 20 biceps. So as opposed to a traditional 20-minute workout, I'll do that. But the way I really like to get my exercise is getting outside. I love gardening.
Yeah.
I love working in the lawn. When I walk around my building in my office, I'll pull weeds as I'm walking around. So I remember my grandfather gave me an amazing lesson. He was a German. He came over in 1922 to get away from Hitler, big brawny fella. And in high school, I was going to a workout at my uncle's garage. We didn't have gyms back then. So my uncle had a set of weights, and I was going to and he looked at me. He said, Joseph, you want muscles? Go dig a hole. What a profound statement. You want real muscles, practical muscles. And so I've never forgot that advice. And so I will work in my yard. I'll turn over the garden with my hands, because that's practical muscles, and that's better for you long term if you want to have longevity, but also flexibility. I was helping my friend on the boat the other day, and I was squatting down, and I'm putting the snaps on a boat, and I'm bending over and reaching around. And he goes, how old are you? I told him. He says, how do you do that? How do you bend and squat like that, man? He says, I'm the only person who can do that. And he's a Navy SEAL. He goes, I don't know anybody who can move like that. I said, well, it's practical muscles. Gym muscles aren't practical muscles. They're good, but they're not practical. So
You see those big guys that work out in the gym. Doesn't that limit their mobility?
absolutely, yes. And many times it can be bad for you because you're building up strong muscles around damaged areas.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't want you building up strong muscles around crooked bones. I want you building up strong muscles around straight bones. And that's where the chiropractic and the physical therapy and the alignment and nutrition all comes together. You get exponentially better workout for a lot less energy if things are lined up properly.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I'm going to start working in the yard more.
There you go. Work in my yard. But even in the house, cleaning the house, washing windows. I mean, you remember the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off.
Wax on, wax off.
We joked about that, but what a practical thing, because you're using practical muscles. And he was a skinny guy and he beat the big guy. So there was a profound lesson in that movie that you don't have to have these gym muscles. It's good to be actually just practically strong. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, tell everybody, where can we hear you? Where can we find you? Tell me all that stuff.
Oh gosh. Well, The website is real easy, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. We have about 4,000 hours of content on that, radio
Holy
shows,
cow.
TV shows, podcasts, blogs I've written. We have on the bottom of the homepage, we have the Dr. Joe Show. You'll see a little link. I do a show once a week on WSB Radio, and that's a 2-hour show where we take calls. So all my shows are archived there. Underneath that, you'll see podcasts. We do 2 podcasts a week. It's Dr. Joe for the Health of It. Dr. Joe for the Health of It. And every week we do 2 half-hour podcasts, and it'll blow you away. So much information in that little half hour. And you can follow me on social media, Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every single day. You're going to get at least a 1-minute tip from me every single day. If you have any health questions at all, send me a question through the website because I want to be your doctor. I mean, yes, we specialize in auto accidents. We train people in auto accidents, but we see general health as well. And when I see an auto accident patient, I don't see them as an auto accident. I see them as a patient. How can I get this patient well? Not just how do I treat this as an auto accident? And patients love that. So you can send me questions through the website, drjoe.com, and I'll answer them personally for you.
How many years have you been on the radio?
Well, gosh, probably about 18 years total on the radio. I've done, I was doing cable TV way back 40 years ago before it was even a thing. At Smyrna Cable, I remember I had a show, but I love media because it gets the message out, because people need to hear what they need to get well. Obviously, I have questions. I want to be your source of information. So,
okay. Well, with all those years on the radio, how about telling us something to close about Dr. Joe that has never been discussed or disclosed on any of your radio programs?
yeah, that's a tough one now. I can tell you this, you probably don't want to, you do want to hear what goes on off the air. Because especially if I'm a guest on other shows, we have other people in the audience in the studio with us. It's hysterical. For example, I'm a guest on Eric Von Hessler's show every week, and him and his crew are some of the smartest human beings on earth. I mean, I feel like an idiot when I'm in a room with these people. And the comedy, the blue comedy that goes on off the air is just phenomenal. But I will tell you that none of us look like we sound. If you think you know what somebody sounds like on the radio, every time somebody sees you, go, I wasn't expecting that. So everyone thinks I sound short. I hear it 4 or 5 times a week. You're a lot taller than I thought you'd be. I don't know what short sounds like, but apparently I do.
Listen, I really appreciate you being on. It's been wonderful. I hope you'll come back someday and we can hit some other topics. I'd love it to have you come back on.
I got 4,000 hours to share with you. So anytime you want me, Darrell, I'm there for you, my friend.
All right. Thanks again. God bless you. I hope you have a great afternoon. And we will see you here again, okay?
I look forward to it. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Crashes, Claims, and Clarity with attorney Darrell Burrow, founder of Burrow & Associates and a trusted advocate for over 30 years. If today's episode helped bring clarity or hope after an accident, be sure to follow, subscribe, and leave a review. To connect with Darrell or learn more, visit legalatlanta.com. Join us next week for another honest, faith-centered conversation about recovery, rights, and moving forward after injury.